What really is communication? This is a question that scholars have grappled with over decades. And in the next few minutes, I shall attempt to provide an answer to this question. My name is Millicent Oyer, a PhD student from Daystar University. The definition of the term communication that seems to be agreed upon by many scholars is that it is the transmission of a message from the source to a receiver via a medium. Scholars point out that the most important element in communication is the message. That is, there needs to be a shared meaning between the sender and the receiver for effective communication. Given all these varying definitions of communication, it's no wonder the field is really important. Communication is really at the center of our existence as human. As a field, it cuts across numerous disciplines such as politics, economics, management, leadership, academia, to name but a few. In the book Communication, Science Theory and Research, the authors Kachmar, Ewaldsen, and Connor argue that the main reason for the existence of communication as a discipline is that communication aims to solve practical problems, that the discipline does not exist merely to protect its own self-image. The field thus aims to solve practical problems within society. For instance, it has been used to study the effectiveness of various campaigns, including those that deal with HIV and AIDS, maternal mortality rates in Kenya, and various other campaigns that utilize the frameworks that are found within the field of communication to assess the effectiveness. As a field, communication borrows heavily from other fields like political science, psychology, and sociology. Schramm developed a myth in order to try and explain the origins of the discipline of communication. And in this history, he gives 4 founding fathers as follows: Lesersfield, Lewin, Hovland, and Lasswell, all of whom communication scholars have borrowed from their original writings to further develop concepts within the field of communication. The authors of the chapter lay down 7 key principles that guide the field of communication. The first one being that communication has as its focus a communication phenomena or incident. This principle holds true to date. If you look at aspects such as strategic communication, crisis communication, leadership and management, all these have an aspect of communication that is being interrogated, and therefore the principle holds true. That communication has as its focus communication as a process. This is indeed true because effective communication requires feedback, and for this loop to be complete, there is need to look at the whole process of communication from the sender to the receiver, looking at the message and the channel used to communicate, just to understand the entire process of communication. The third principle is that communication looks at the actual outcome in order to assess the effectiveness. This indeed holds true because humans do not just communicate for the sake of communicating. And how else would we be able to assess the effectiveness of the communication shared if not by looking at the outcome and looking at it against the intended purpose of the message? The fourth principle is an understanding of the communicators. Indeed, communicators come bearing their bias from the different ways in which they view the subject matter. So it is important to understand the participants in a particular communication process so that we can effectively analyze that communication. Fifth is that communication searches for regularities measured or theoretically described. This holds true because theory informs practice. For example, diffusion innovation theory has been used for various interventions around the world. The sixth principle is a consideration of the context of communication. It goes without saying that context indeed determines how a particular message will be interpreted by the receiver. So this principle holds true in any communication activity. And finally, the seventh principle, an understanding of the channels of communication, organizationally or socially defined. With the current advancements in technology in the contemporary world, it goes without saying that channel is indeed important as it determines how the audience will receive your message and how they will interpret it. So channel should be looked at keenly in any communication process. Finally, I would say that the field of communication is growing and more research is indeed required, especially with the recent advancements in technology. The existence of journals and conferences that support key research in the area make it possible to advance studies in the field of communication. Thank you.